let's discuss some of the benefits and the cons of operating an NFT system, so you'll know if this is something that you want to invest in and if this will match your operation or your system that you want to build. So we'll go over the top 3 pros and cons. The School of Aquaponics. Now, the third pro on the list is that it's easy to build. This is the easiest, probably the easiest. Well, I don't know if it's the easiest, but it's one of the easiest systems to build. It's definitely one that doesn't require much knowledge or require much experience to put together. So NFT system is definitely ranks high on the pros for the ease of a build. Cost effectiveness is one of the other benefits or pros of building an NFT system. It doesn't really cost much in comparison to the other systems. It's one of the cheaper ways to get started with an aquaponics system. You can purchase the material from local hardware stores, and then you can get started right away. It's pretty easy to put together, and it doesn't cost a lot of money as well. And also, since it's operating on a thin film of water that's stretching down the channel, it doesn't require a lot of water to distribute throughout the channel. So the initial startup is a small amount of water, and you can have a channel that's maybe 60 to 100 feet long, and it's only going to require maybe a gallon of water to get from one end of the channel all the way down to the other. And this is super beneficial when it comes to heating cost and cooling cost, because the more water you have, the more cost is associated with heating and cooling. Since NFT only requires a small amount of water to distribute through the channels, the cost is going to be significantly lower. Now, moving on to the cons, the top 3 cons. The third con on the list would be the crop limitation. You're really limited to crops that to annual crops or crops that don't grow large root masses. So, which may or may not be a con depending on the type of market or the type of crop you want to grow. But I'm just going to put it in there just because it doesn't allow you to have options if you wanted to scale and grow different types of crops like broccoli and cauliflower and things of that nature. You're really limited to smaller crops, the lettuce, the tatsoi, the pak choi, kale, things that are going to grow just a few months, and that's pretty much it. You're getting them in, getting them out, and you're moving on. So that could be a con, and it may not be a con for your situation, but just putting it in there anyway. Also, stability. In NFT systems, the crops don't really have that much stability. When you put the net cup inside of the channel, it's really it really is being held together by just a however thin or thick your pipe is. That's really all that's pretty much holding it on there. So when strong winds come through, like around here in Central Florida, we have subtropical winds that come through. I mean, if you don't have a hoop house or something that's covering the structure, then your plant's getting ready to fly in the sky. You'll see plants with wings flying. So that's one of the cons, depending on where you stay at. Strong winds are not your friend in NFT systems. So also, the number one contra with NFT systems is the clogging up, pipes clogging up, or feed drip tubes clogging up. Whatever you're using, a lot of times it clogs up, especially if your filtration isn't all the way up to par. And what happens is when it clogs up, since there's only a thin film of water running through the channel, if it clogs up, you really don't have much time before the roots begin to dry up, and then the crop begins to wilt and eventually die. You don't have much time to work with. So if this happens while you're at McDonald's sucking salt off your fingers, if you've been gone for an hour or 2 hours, by the time you get back, and if they've clogged when you left, then you can pretty much forget about it, especially if it's on a hot day. If it's on a hot day, you really don't have much time at all. So if during an NFT system, you need to make sure the mechanical filtration is all the way up to par and no large solids are passing through the system, and they're being and they're causing clogs inside of these drip tubes, because it's a small space. It doesn't take much to clog up these drip tubes and emitters. So this is something you have to be wary of. But overall, NFT is a super great system, one of my favorite systems to run.